Hi guys, I hope you had a really good week. I'm actually in Phoenix this week visiting family and we're having a good time. I hope you had a great Easter. I am ready to talk about carbs today. One, how they got such a bad rap. Two, what the difference is between healthy carbs and crappy carbs and why not to lump them together. Three, talking about the effects of sugar, which is a crappy carb, and then kind of giving you guys some tools and ideas for how to add good carbohydrates into your food program so that your body can burn the most fat possible, that you can have energy throughout the day, and that you have energy for your workouts and that kind of a thing. So let's get started. Our carbs, the reason they got such a bad reputation is, take a typical family. What do they eat for breakfast? Probably toast or cereal, right? And if they have kids or they're just not into healthy stuff, they're probably eating some kind of junky cereal that isn't good for you, right? So that would be the carbs that have gotten such a bad reputation in this low carb craze. So this carbs-based breakfast, what happens, okay, so I'll read you a little explanation. In the morning, simple carbohydrates like sugary refined cereals, white breads, toast, etc. cause an immediate surge of blood sugar levels, which result in the release of a substantial amount of insulin. So what happens when your insulin releases, it removes sugar from the blood and puts it into storage, primarily into fat tissue. The result is a decreased level of blood sugar and a thirst for more carbs. So then, of course, you crash, and what do? You want carbs again. This cycle repeats itself 2 or 3 more times during the day. When blood sugar drops quickly, we often look for something sweet to bring the levels back up because it's dropping too fast. If this happens enough times during the day, we could end up snacking too much and taking in too many calories. Aside from that, when you're eating this kind of thing, you're taking in empty calories. They're not even, really good for you calories. They're calories that are void of nutrition. So that's kind of why when they started introducing, the concept of taking carbs out entirely, well, what happens? Well, you have eggs for breakfast and maybe some bacon and that kind of a thing. And, you're all counting carbs, which, if you start counting carbs, what you're doing is you're eliminating all those foods that would tend to spike your blood sugar really quickly. So, of course, you're going to feel satiated a little bit longer, and so you're not going to eat as much, and you're not going to have the blood sugar spike and the blood sugar crash. You're not going to, have all those issues. So then everyone started believing, oh, well, you just have to avoid carbs completely. All carbs are bad. Don't eat carrots. Don't eat bananas. It's all bad for you. Well, in my experience, whenever I've dieted and eliminated something, if you see something where they're completely eliminating, and this is terrible for you, an entire food group, I always am very skeptical that it's a good, healthy program. You might be able to drop weight quickly, but the reality is it's a matter of choosing good carbohydrates so that you have the balance. Your brain runs off of carbs. Your brain needs about 50 grams of carbs per day just to function. And so if you're completely eliminating carbs, I don't know if you've ever done a high protein Atkins type diet, but what happens is your body gets very acidic. You drop all the water out of your body possible, and you just feel pretty good for a few days, but then after that, something's wrong. You can't understand why, every carb in the world is just looking so attractive, and you're feeling a little bit loopy and dehydrated and all this stuff. Well, that's because your body still needs carbohydrates. It really is that balance of it. To be honest, every day on a normal basis, my food log always has 50% carbohydrates because that really is an important part, right? So what's a balanced protein-based breakfast? We still totally tote the importance of protein, right? If you have a protein-based breakfast, like one with eggs or one with the Formula 1 shake and protein drink mix, such a breakfast supplies our body with all vital nutrients and energy without increasing blood sugar and insulin levels. It helps to avoid dependence on carbs during the day. In this way, appetite stays under control, cravings for carbs, snacks, chocolate, pastry, soft drinks, etc. diminish, and the body uses its own stored fats to get more energy, which we want to do, right? Because we want to burn fat. So the key is, in the healthy meal replacement, the only reason it can legally be called a healthy meal replacement is because it has that perfect balance of carbs and fats and protein. And then we usually bump your protein. So that's kind of the importance of like getting your carbs in, but that it is important, but what exactly is it doing for you? Well, first of all, carbohydrates are brain food, like I mentioned earlier. Secondly, carbohydrates have fiber in them, right? And I don't know if any of you have done this, but if you've gone on especially like a lean protein diet where you're pretty much only eating like lean protein and maybe some fruits and veggies, you get constipated or you get digestive issues, you get bloated, all kinds of crazy things. Because what you need is that balance of the lean protein and then the really healthy carbs that have fiber to push through everything so that it's going through your digestive system. You've seen a few of those now on fiber and just what happens when it gets stuck in your system. Your body's absorbing all those toxins, which is not good. So what we obviously are going to recommend is that you have cellular nutrition, which has a balance of healthy carbs and healthy fats and proteins. So what are some healthy carbs? For me personally, my rule of thumb, that's just like a simple thing, not really having to do with calorie counting, is you need to eat at least 1 or 2, if not 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 servings of raw veggies every day. Okay, and we're not talking about obviously potatoes or corn or more of the starchier ones. We're talking about salad or broccoli, cauliflower, those kind of things. Anything you can get that's raw, because when you cook vegetables, you're bringing out the sugar in them and breaking down the fiber, which there's no problem with cooked vegetables. Go for it. They're great for you. But just making sure you get in, at least for me personally, trying to get in 1 salad a day really helps kind of just check off that list. Okay, I've got my raw serving of veggies that day. The second thing that's really, really helpful, a good carbohydrate, is beans. Beans and whole grains. Again, they have insoluble fiber that are really going to help to push through everything to, kind of cleanse out your digestive system. Plus, the cool thing about beans and fruits is actually they have the soluble fiber that expands in your stomach and gives you a sense of fullness, right? And then the third kind that I usually try and get in are berries. Blackberries, strawberries, raspberries, all those kinds of things are great sources of carbohydrates. And again, you're addressing your body's need for carbohydrates, but with good options instead of poor choices. There's never going to be a time that Twinkies are going to be good for you. So just kind of keep that in mind as far as good carbs go, and you can certainly post any ideas that you have or questions. But don't eliminate carbs from your body. What will happen is your body will actually switch over into ketosis, and your body will start using your muscle for energy because it doesn't have enough carbs available for just basic everyday activities. So it will start to actually cannibalize your muscle, and instead of continuing to build your lean protein, your body will just get really efficient at burning protein for energy instead of your fat or your carbs. So again, just balance. Food logging is the easiest way to understand where the balance comes from. But let's talk about the detriments of bad carbs. Okay, so we know good carbs are berries, beans, grains, and whole grain type things. The bad thing about carbs, and this is why it was so detrimental and so helpful when people started eliminating them, is that a lot of the junky carbs out there include a lot of sugar. To me, the way I think about sugar is that it is literally a life sucker. And I'm going to talk about, we have a little bit more time in the next video, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sugar and what you can do to kind of control how much sugar you're intaking and your kids are intaking.